Hey, beautiful friends, it's Catherine here. So I just noticed the time when I jumped on at 7 o'clock, and so interesting that I'm jumping on at 7 o'clock because, and that wasn't actually planned, it was synchronistic. I'm jumping on to talk about patterns and noticing patterns in your life, whether they be patterns of numbers or cycles. I work obviously a lot with patterns, with clients, patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, repeating patterns that may not be serving them right. But today I'm coming on with a kind of a different sort of pattern. So I happen to be on a Zoom call with someone who shall, she can out herself in the comments if she wants to, but we were having a lovely conversation and we were wrapping up. And I happened to look at the time, and it was 11:11, and it was 7/7/2023, which is also a 7. So today is a 777 day, and 7 is a very high spiritual number. And as soon as I looked at that number, first of all, I loved the combination of the 11:11, right, which is a sacred gateway, double ones, which are new beginnings, and 11:11 is a significant number if you pay attention to numbers and numerology, which I've been doing quite amateurishly, I have to say, for about 30 years though. But one of my first indications of my own spiritual awakening was beginning to notice triple and quadruple digits pretty much every place I looked. Mailboxes, dollar bills, zip codes. It seemed like no matter where I was looking, I was seeing triple or quadruple digits, or sometimes series of numbers, which also have their own significance. So for 30 years now, I've been very much aware of patterns in numbers. And, I don't necessarily look them all up anymore to see what triple threes or, fives mean or whatever. But I did that for a long time because I was always curious. Now I just sort of smile, thank the universe for making me aware that there's something in this moment that's significant, right? And sometimes I'll notice if it's 2s, it means your angels are around, or if it's 5s, maybe it may mean change, or 7, there's a high spiritual number. So when I looked at that 7/7/2023 today, which if you add 2023, it's a 7 number. It's a 7, so it's a triple digit 7. It immediately brought me back to 7/7/07. 15 years ago today. So on 7/7/07, I happened to be at an event in Aspen, Colorado. You usually don't think of Aspen in the middle of summer. But I was there for something called the Seminar of the Century. And it was after a 3-year program that I had done with T. Harv Eker. And he was doing his own version of Woodstock. As he said, he was too young to go to Woodstock. His dad wouldn't let him go. But he was determined to put on his own version of Woodstock. So he was putting on sort of what he called it, the Woodstock of the mind. So it was a 3 or 4 day period of time, literally in Aspen on the ski slope, minus snow, very hot in July. And I had gone by myself. I was staying in some housing with some people that I didn't know. And so I really was on my own for the whole time, pretty much, other than, times I was just chatting with people. And something happened on that day, 7/7/07, again, very much aware. And all of the speakers were spiritual speakers, people like Jack Canfield, and I think Wayne Dyer spoke that day, and, other people who were really in the early wave of, spiritual teachers. And I remember at one point, and I am going to blank on who the woman was. I should know. She was married to John Gray. Some say he wrote his book about love after the end of that relationship. I'm not remembering her name right now. But I was sitting at the top of the ski slope way up sort of, I mean, it was a ski slope, but in what we might call, the bleacher seats, the nosebleed seats, just because I wanted a little more space. I didn't want to be jam-packed in with a whole bunch of people. But at a certain point, I got hungry and I started to walk. There were vendors on either side of the mountain. And so I started to walk down the mountain just to see if there was something, hey BJ, hey Tori, if, I could grab something to eat. So as I got down to the bottom of the mountain, without having found anything, and started to walk up the other side, all of a sudden I heard this voice basically in my head that said, stop and listen. And the woman who was speaking, whose name I don't remember, so I sat down. I found a place in the shade and I sat down. Actually, I was at that point in the seats where you needed a wristband to sit, but I just kind of like plopped myself down below one of the chair lifts in the shade. And I kind of looked over, and the guy who was working, there keeping people, the right people in and the right people out, sort of looked over at me and gave me a thumbs up. So I knew I was good. So I sat down and I started listening to the speaker, and her talk was basically, the time is now, to repeat, the time is now and I am ready. And I heard those words and I started sobbing. And then I heard, this was the food you were looking for. It was like I needed to come down the mountain literally to be closer in the vibrational field of what she was sharing. And it was really very powerful. And she spoke, and then, other people were speaking, and there were some great bands playing. And it was a very powerful moment for me on 7707. And it was the day that I realized that my, at that point, 29-year marriage was ending, that there were just some things that had not been in vibrational alignment for quite some time. It wasn't terrible by many people's standards, but I knew the direction that I was growing in, and I knew that my former husband was not in the same place. And at a certain point, I needed to be able to be seen for who I was within my primary relationship. And so 7707 was the day 15 years ago today, I'm going to get a little emotional here, where I faced the truth that I needed to leave my marriage, my kids, my home. I left my job. I opened a healing center. I did a lot of things. And what I realized as I was thinking about that today was that, have you ever had the experience when you kind of know something, or that you're being called to something, but it's kind of a not yet situation, like not yet, not yet. I will know when it's time. I will know when I'm being guided. And this was 15 years ago. So I obviously was operating from my guidance in a lot of ways, but I'm not sure I could say I really trusted it. But I knew, because of the events that happened on that day, I knew that it was time. And that was confirmed for me when I got home and tried to share my experiences, really my excitement for, what I had been, had experienced for the 3 or 4 days that I was gone. And there was sort of no real acceptance or reciprocity or interest, right? And that sort of was the final confirmation for me. What I realized as I was thinking about that was that I moved out pretty quickly after that. I filed for divorce just 2 weeks shy of my 29th wedding anniversary, and ended up moving out on 9/9/2007, which is a triple digit 9 number, meaning completion. I just realized, in fact, I just said the words meaning completion in this moment. I didn't even really recognize that earlier today, even when I put together the 9-9 and then the 2007 also being a 9, right? So another triple digit number meaning completion. And when I look back on the years since then, how did this work? There was something else with the year 2015, and actually it just slipped my mind. It's all right. It may come back to me. It may not. But here it is, 15 years, since then, and it's another 777 day, because 2023 is a 7, and it's a very big passageway in terms of cosmic and astrological openings or portals as the triple digit date opens us up. This Syrian energy opens us up, moving toward the Lion's Gate on 8/8. So there's just a lot of very powerful energy up. I think any of you who listen to me are pretty sensitive to energy, even if you don't know exactly what it is. For years I used to read Karen Bishop's What's Up on Planet Earth, because I would realize after the fact, oh, that's why I was feeling that way, or that's why that thing happened like that. Oh, I know what I was going to say about the 9/9 date, because 2 years later, on the actual 9/9/09, was when I became activated. My number nerdiness was the day that I became activated to speak light language, when I was in Arkansas for the reawakening of the divine feminine diamond emerald ray, right? So there were hundreds of us in ceremony that day on 9/9/09. And I was, some of you may know this story already, as we were in circle, I heard, again, lie down. So as I laid down on the ground, and we were in this beautiful field with a slope, actually, and I was at the very bottom of the slope, I laid down, and then I saw, felt, sensed, knew this emerald ray that came literally from above me, through my heart, and into the earth. And the words that Yeshua and Magdalene had given me in 2008 was that I was going to be a bridge between heaven and earth. That was part of my purpose, to bridge heaven and earth for people. So here I am lying on the ground in Arkansas at the day we're activating the dormant crystals, which happened on every single digit day, by the way, from 1101 to 2202, 3303. So this was 9909. And one of the crystals, ancient crystals that was coming back online, was this emerald ray of the divine feminine. So I laid on the ground for I don't know how long. Things were happening around me. People were in ceremony and whatever. And I stood up and I was speaking light language. And I knew what it was because I had some familiarity with it already through friends. And what I could see the woman directly across from me, sort of, and I was also doing sort of hand movements while I was speaking. And she was far enough away that I couldn't hear her, but I could see her making hand movements. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And the next day, a bunch of us went for a crystal dig down in Little Rock area. And we went, after the dig, we went into this beautiful new addition that they had put on this old ramshackle crystal dig place. And it was this 2 beautiful, huge rooms with giant crystals, like 12-foot amethysts and quartz that were big enough to like put the whole top half of your body in, and really quite wild. But as we were in there, we were going into meditation, and 4 of us started speaking light language as we went into the meditation. And afterwards, somebody said to me, oh, you were south. And then I was like, oh, there were 4. And the woman across from me must have been north, because I was at the very bottom of the circle. And I didn't see, but apparently there were women anchoring both the east and the west points as well. So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but I am, as Tori says, a nerd about these numbers because they're meaningful. Whether you understand their meaning or not, just understand that they are activating whenever you see triple digits. It's actually why we moved from a digital to, from a, like the old clocks. I'm just forgetting the names, analogous clocks or something, to everything being digital, literally so we could see all the triple and quadruple digits more clearly, because they are analog. Thank you. You're a word nerd too. And when we see those digits, we're literally turning on. It's like little switches being turned on in our DNA. And this is part of our acceleration process. It's part of our enlightenment process as we're shifting from this carbon-based, heavy, dense DNA to our higher crystalline-based DNA blueprint as divine humans. Right? So we are in this process, and all of this digital information, the ability to see the numbers, the patterns more clearly than we would if we were looking at an analog clock. This is literally part of our activation, right? This is part of the DNA activation that's going on as we're shifting from this 2-strand dense carbon-based DNA to our 12-strand. Yes, we've been muted. We've had 10 of our strands of DNA sort of muted, and now we're coming back online. And as we do, we are gaining access to more of our gifts. PJ, I know you know these as our magic, right? Our intuition, our ability to channel, in your case, your ability to see people who have crossed over or help people cross over, or get information in that way. So we all have these beautiful gifts available to us, but they have been literally dumbed down as over time, as the density has gotten more and more. And we are now in a period, or have been for the last, I would say, strongly 23 years since the turn of the century, but even a little bit before that, in a period of waking up, where we are literally turning the lights on inside, where we're activating this crystalline blueprint that literally overlays our carbon-based DNA. So I don't know whether, those of you who are listening now or may be listening in the future are aware of any of that, or if it sounds very like, science fiction-y, but it's true. We were, our original DNA came from was seeded by 12 star systems, 12 star families. And each of us has origins in probably different star families, maybe more than one. So your DNA is coming back online. Your divine humanness is coming back online. So pay attention to the numbers, pay attention to the patterns. What was going on in your life 15 years ago? I'm trying to remember when it was. We were talking about another pattern a while back, a pattern that repeats like every 24 years or something. I don't remember exactly. And I did a little, detective work in my own life to see where I was in each of those years. And it's pretty fascinating. So be aware of the patterns. even if you don't know what all the numbers mean, just trust that the universe is letting you know you're on target with something, or maybe you need to take a look at something, or they're just confirming maybe some intuition or a thought you may have had. And if nothing else, just be aware of it, send some gratitude up and say, thank you very much for being here with me, for watching over me, for letting me know that you've got my back. And yeah, many blessings to you. I hope all kinds of beautiful synchronicities happen in your life in the way they have happened for me. I'm so grateful for that on my path, because, you know, sometimes the path gets rough, right? Sometimes, you know, the journey can be like this. And it's those moments of synchronicity, seeing those numbers, having somebody call us when we think of them, hearing the words of a song clearly for a first time, and realizing, oh my God, that was the answer to the question I've been asking, right? Pay attention to those things. They're all around you. I spent too many years waiting for a booming voice from the sky to like tell me something, and I was missing the smaller, subtler ways in which spirit lets you know that they've got your back. So stay cool. Have a beautiful rest of your evening and a beautiful 777. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye now.